The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of my little flying geese. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to flip this over like this. And I'm going to stitch. And then I'm going to press this out. And then I'm going to put this one here. I'm going to stitch. And then flip this out and I'll have my flying geese. So I'll see you again in just a minute. Before I stitch these, I am going to use my Magic Quilting and Crafting Spray. Spray these and then I'm going to iron them. Make them all nice and stiff. Okay, so I have lined this up here and I've sewn this. Now I'm going to flip this up. And I'm going to lay this one here. And I'm going to stitch that down. Now when I flip that up, I have my flying geese unit. So I'm going to do that to the other three. Okay, so I've got my flying geese made. So I'm going to put this one here, match them up in my rows. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing these together. So I'm going to sew this row together. Okay, so I have my first strip sewn together and I'm going to do the same with these. So this will get sewn here, 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 and I'm going to sew the next strip. Okay, I also want to point out that when I did my pressing, I pressed the seams out this way so that my photo block is laying flat. And I made sure that I covered this with fabric, like a piece of cotton, as I was pressing it so that I don't melt my photos. And I don't want to leave it sit there too long either, okay? And in case you happen to see, my flying geese don't go clear to the edges. Evidently, my machine was set wrong, and so my flying geese are just smidgy small. So when you use your 1/4 inch seam allowance to do these flying geese, make sure you make it a scant fourth because it needs that extra width for our width. Now we've got one more row over here to sew, so I'm going to sew that row together. Okay, so now we've got all of our rows sewn together. So now I'm going to start sewing rows together. And I'm also going to include on the outside edges the 2.5 inch strips. I don't know if you can see these, but the 2.5 inch strips, I'm going to include those out on the edges. So I'm going to start sewing all these together and I'll be right back. All right, so I have these sewn together. And I'm going to sew on my 2 side strips, and then I will sew on my 2 top strips, and I will have my block done. All right, I've got my 2 sides sewn on, and now I'm going to sew on my tops and my bottoms. All right. Here is our first scrap block of the month. Now, if you want, you can go in and you can add little embellishments with your embroidery machine. You can do custom quilting in it, but this gives you the basic layout that you can play with. I am designing the scrap blocks of the month 20 by 20 for a very simple reason. Number one, they're a nice size to work with different photos, but the first reason is because IKEA has the really inexpensive feather inserts for the pillows that are 20 by 20. So I've designed these so they can be the pillow front, they can be a wall hanging. You can, expand out around the edges if you want to make them like a baby quilt, something like that. So this is just a really nice size, I decided. And so the scrap blocks of the month are probably going to be 20 by 20 for a while. So I think that's it, and I will see you in the next video.